Well, happy Saturday, everyone. I have been AWOL from YouTube for a while for a number of different reasons, but amongst them, poor Stewart has COVID and is recovering right now. Fortunately, it's not a serious case. He caught it from his daughter, who caught it from her music instructor, and that's just the way of the world right now. But to brighten up the weekend, I thought I would show you some of the Amaryllis and Topiary that are going still pretty strong in my house right now. Give you a little tour of the downstairs, and also some of you requested that I show you what replaced some of my holiday decor, my Christmas tree and things of that nature. So on the mantle, it's much simpler. I have a pair of antlers that my husband and I have had for years. They belonged to his brother. And then I just like those battery operated candles, and so I've got those around my house all of the time. This cute little lantern is adorned with some of those spray painted leaves and such that I had over Christmas. And they still look kind of wintry, so I like them there. And then we're gonna go, if you'll follow along with me here, we're gonna go into my very messy dining room, which is more like a desk. My dining room table is more like a desk to me right now. But if you'll follow along with me and pardon all of the mess, let me get myself loosened here. Lots of fresh fruit at our house this year since we're trying to be healthy with the new year. Like I say, this is very informal, you guys. But I want to give you a little bit of an update on the Myrtle Topiary, which begin to struggle about right now, but you'll notice that I've got them in this very bright window. This is a south-facing window, and I tried to maximize the exposure or maximize their exposure to as much light as possible, because all of these Myrtle Topiaries really want lots of light. So how I've been caring for them is pretty simple. Just like the summer, I make sure that they always have adequate moisture. I have top dressed them in sheet moss, and most of the sheet moss that I've got these mulched in is over a bed of gravel, which is what they have in the summertime. Now I do this for a couple of reasons. One, it keeps the moisture in, but also it seems to deter those fungus gnats a little bit when I keep the gravel underneath that moist layer of sheet moss, and I get that from my florist. About once every 3 weeks, I give my myrtles just a very, very weak feed of an organic liquid fertilizer like Liquid Grow from Espoma, and I will keep trimming on them. And what you'll find is they will start dropping some of their interior leaves, some of their older leaves in the wintertime, and that's really just fine. Now sometimes I would keep them on a bed of gravel, sitting on a bed of gravel to keep humidity in, but these, because they are mulched in that moss, they seem to be hanging in there pretty well. They're not as full as they would be in the summer because they really do like lots of light. And I noticed the other day that I was beginning to have a little bit of a mealybug problem on this large one. So I took it outside and I sprayed it with some neem oil. If you have fungus gnats, you can try a spray of hydrogen peroxide, 1 part hydrogen peroxide to 4 parts of water, and then let the soil dry out, spray the soil, and then of course stay on top of it because it may require multiple applications. Practically every winter I have some of them. I have a few of them, and whether or not I even tackle trying to do anything about them is usually determined by just how severe the infestation is, and this year it's not too bad. I have some more of these, my long rectangular pots that have Myrtle Topiary in them. I have more of those upstairs in another south-facing window. Let's go into my living room now. And because like I say, I have to maximize as much of the light as I possibly can. I wanted to give you an update on all of these gorgeous Amaryllis. Now you may recall that I had earlier, and I'll try to give you the link, I had a large broken pot here of some double delicious Amaryllis, and they really began to get top heavy, and my other Samba bicolored white and red Amaryllis were coming into bloom. So I'll show you what I do with those momentarily, and then I replaced them with this huge pot, and I did a video a while back on this paella pan that I use as a container, and you can see it's got, gosh, I can't remember, 4 or 5 Amaryllis, Sama Amaryllis in here. Aren't they gorgeous? With lots and lots of buds still to come. You may notice or recognize this lattice work cylindrical trellis that usually is outside as a plant support, but it works equally as well in a pot. And I'm going to have a source for these pretty soon, you guys. And then I have kept, because it's still wintry, I've kept some of the pine cones and bark remnants and things in the pot to kind of give it a little bit more oomph, a little bit more pizzazz. There's a little bit of reindeer moss in there, and it too is mulched in sheet moss. And then it is surrounded by a family of topiary, and these are my little laurel trees that were just volunteers, freebie volunteers that I dug up outside, and I did a video on that, and I'll try to put a link to that as well. And what I like about these characters is you can bring them in and they handle the lower light pretty easily. I like the glossy leaves. I've got 4 pots of them, kind of in different shapes. And they'll go back outside along with the Myrtle Topiaries when growing season arrives. Here's a little pot. And when I have a family of topiary of all the same kind, I try to pot them up in similar pots. So these are all in an Italian clay or brown terracotta. Now you may have noticed that in the concrete pots here, in the foreground, I thought these were going to bloom as Sambas, but no, they are a gorgeous lipstick pink. So they will probably get moved to another location, but isn't that color just gorgeous? And all of these came from color blends. And this is the beauty of big bulbs, you guys, is look at how many buds there are. Not only how many flowers come out of each bud, but then how many buds themselves are. Some of these are putting out 3 and 4. See, there's another one hiding at the base. 3 and 4 buds. So they just keep blooming their heads off. And these I probably, because they're such good quality bulbs, I probably will try to keep for next year. And I'll go over how to do that in another video. Now here's another update on one. This is a red lion that was in one of these wax encasements. I'm not a real fan of these. I find that they just don't bloom as well. This one has another big bud to bloom. I don't know, I guess I'm a traditionalist and I like them better when they're in pots. And then over here, this sunlight is going to be very strong, you guys. But I've got another Myrtle Topiary in a faux bois pot. And then this cute guy over here, which I think of, let me turn him around, as my I don't know why I think of it as my Peter Pan Myrtle Topiaries, because they are trellised and it just reminds me of the scaffolding on a pirate ship or something. And I just gave this one a really good trim. So what you can do with them is, you can really be artistic with them. Now my friend Monica, that was in that recent video where we talked about rooting cuttings and things from the garden, she is rooting some other things for me this winter, amongst them some myrtle, lots of cinnadraniums, and COVID willing, and the Lord willing, we're going to try to have a plant sale here in my garden in the spring, and she'll have lots of starts and scented geraniums that we're going to try to make available to you. So you guys keep a good thought, keep your fingers crossed. So it kind of looks a little bit like a conservatory in here, but these brighten my day. Now if we go into the entryway, you can see I've got another couple of myrtle in here. These aren't in as bright a light, so what I do is I constantly rotate them so that all sides of them get the light. I do that for the Amaryllis too, so they grow straight and tall and ensure symmetry in terms of their growth. But you know, occasionally also I'll switch them out. So these guys are a little bit lower light, and periodically I'll switch them out into an area of higher light. I try not to move them a whole lot though, because temperature differentials can really stress them and cause them to drop their leaves. So right now, about this point, I expect them to start suffering a little bit from low light conditions, and I just try to take care of them and get them to hold on until till summer. I've got some on the porch, some rosemary that are overwintering. I'm going to show you guys those a little bit later and do a whole segment on rosemary. But then I want to show you these gorgeous Amaryllis. And these are some of those Double Delicious. And these stalks had gotten really heavy, so I thought I would use them in the vase. This is a McCoy vase that was gifted to me. And they're just gorgeous with those white stripes in the center. And then I just have them in a vase along with some of this seeded eucalyptus that I just got at Trader Joe's. Practically every time I go to Trader Joe's, I get seeded eucalyptus. I absolutely adore it. I love its arching form. I love the berries. I love the gray color to it. I just love everything about it. Now, before too long, this palette of reds and greens, I'll kind of show you back that way if you're interested in my living room. This palette of reds and greens, just prior to Valentine's Day, will give way to what I think of as more spring bulbs. So that's, I'll start bringing in hyacinths and daffodils and bulbs of that nature. But for right now, I am definitely enjoying and indulging myself in all of these gorgeous Amaryllis and my beautiful Topiary. So there's a little downstairs walkabout in my house on this Saturday. Hopefully Stewart and I will be back in business pretty soon. You guys have a great weekend.